So anyways, I mean, I am happy and willing and always, if somebody wants to talk about if they're interested in doing it, or you guys have, people on your teams that want to do it, like, I'm fresh from what I just did, what I just went through. So definitely willing to pour back at anybody else that's willing and wants to spend the time to do it. So, and hopefully they would take 8 times to do it. So with a little hopefully experience for me. So anyways, I do have a blog, Padawan CCIE. I'm a big Star Wars guy, so I don't consider myself a Jedi Knight, Jedi Master. I just consider myself a Padawan. Still always learning, always wanting to basically just how can I get better every day, right? So, and that's my number, 62665. I'll never forget it. So we're gonna talk about how to build a lab. This is one way, right? Put a bunch of equipment in a rack, right? What's good about it? Like physical gear, right? I can basically replicate any scenario or do anything I want to do, and it's easy to test. All these sales guys, they love you when you do that, right? Because you're buying more gear than just what's in production. Negatives, well, I gotta have physical gear, I gotta have racks, I gotta have power, I gotta do all that stuff, right? So, and then again, so we come out with, let's say, Catalyst 9K, right? And my lab's in the 3K, right? All of a sudden, I have new gear I gotta keep up. How do I do that, right? How do I balance that? How do I learn versus what's in production? I don't want to make, changes on production without testing first, right? So that whole gamut. How do I do this and how do I best do it? So in the last 3.5 years, I spent a lot of time building a lab and labbing over and over and over again. And I tell you what, I mean, I don't want to spend a bunch of money. I already got to spend a bunch of money to take the test a bunch of times. The last thing I want to do is buy a bunch of gear and then have it sitting in my house, right? I mean, that's, it's not like this is sitting at work, right? This is at my house. So the stuff I'm going to show you today is in my basement, in my laundry room downstairs, right? So it's like, my wife obviously doesn't want a bunch of crap down there either, right? So this is how I do it. It's just a server. Sorry, the lighting isn't very good, but you can do it on one server. Okay, I don't care what it is. All I need is CPU, memory, and disk, right? VMware lets me virtualize everything. So I can run a CSR. So CSR is just cloud services router, but all that means is iOS XE. So if you know iOS XE, that's an ASR, it's an ISR, it's a Cat 9K, it's a Cat 3K. I don't care what it is. I can run all that on one CSR on that box. So think of it as a virtual router. That's all it is. Okay, Nexus 9000V virtual switch. That's all it is, virtual. I don't have to have a physical switch. Now, is it nice to test on a physical switch? Sure. Do I want to test like PoE, like on a phone or something, or a wireless? Like, okay, so maybe there's some scenarios where I may want 1 or 2 physical switches for some physical testing, right? Something that needs like PoE or power or something like that. Great. Otherwise, I can build like an ACI environment, Nexus 9000. I can build, a data center environment with the Nexus 9000, and it's all virtual. Okay. And if someone tells you it can't be virtualized, they're lying. They're not telling you the truth, because we all know, we get that story, right? Oh, can't be virtualized, gotta be physical. Throw the flag, bull crap, right? All right, so this is my lab. It's just a server. It's got 120 gig of memory. It's got 200 gig of storage. It's just whatever you need, right? So depending on how many virtual machines I want to run, that's how much storage I need. Super simple, super easy. What's a router? CPU, memory, and disk. What's a server? CPU, memory, and disk. It's not rocket science. We all know, right? And so what you can see here too is these are just OVAs. That CSR is just an OVA. The Nexus 9000 is just an OVA. I import that into VMware because we're all familiar with VMware for the most part, right? I don't care if it's the thick client or the web client that they're using now. I import that OVA, power it on. Virtual machine, sure, but it's a router, it's a switch. Same thing. You got OVAs, I'm sure, right? Same thing. F5, I don't care who the manufacturer is. OVA is an OVA, right? It's a box. I don't care if it's a physical box or a virtual box. Same thing. So some technical things that you have to do to kind of get, so you can see like all these routers, they're all just virtual machines, but they're just all these different routers that I have like on my one server, right? So one server, I don't have to have a whole lab, a whole rack of gear. So I basically go on the firewall on that VMware server. I turn on, basically so I can do exterior ports, like a console connection. That way I don't have to actually open up the VMware console and go console into the machine every time. Because it's like, how do I get to it, right? SSH telnet, there's got to be a way to get to it just like I do to my network infrastructure normally, right? So what I do is I open up firewall rules on the ESXi host to allow like a virtual serial port, okay? Turn on those ports. I also have basically like a separate lab network. So in VMware, right, you have these virtual switches in VMware, right? So I create a separate one. So I have just one isolated virtual switch, and all my lab stuff sits on him. So he doesn't know anything about production. He doesn't know anything about the internet. He doesn't know anything. He is totally isolated in his own little virtual switch environment. And I just basically say, instead of one VLAN, I allow all. So then I can just do .1Q trunking and basically tag the VLAN, and that's how I can start to create my connection between routers and between ports. I'll show you how you do that. And on the virtual machine then, I go and add a serial port, add virtual serial port. I don't care, tell it SSH, doesn't matter to me, whatever, right? But I say, here's what it's doing. So then the server, which is my ESX host, right? My one server, he listens on this port, and then that's my console connection to that box. Virtual switch, virtual route, I don't care. So then now I got a console connection, so here's my PuTTY window, right? So my server name is just my host, my ESXi host, my port, right? That's that same port that I had. And I hit OK, and now I got a console connection to that virtual switch or virtual router. Super easy, super simple. Okay, so as Ian would say, cooking with gas, with fish with dynamite, you get it. Rinse and repeat. There's router 1, there's router 2. Do the same thing over and over again. However many VMs you need, however many devices you're trying to create, each one takes about 4 gig of memory. So if you think about, I had 128 on that box, I can get about 30-ish routers, and that's typically in the CCIE lab. There's like, technically there's like 40 to 50, but some of them are backbone devices, so it's usually about 30 to 35 devices that you gotta configure. So I tried to make mine as realistic and identical to that environment, so then I could go and basically recreate and lab and study and go through different topologies. So this was just my chicken scratch for a customer that was down in Des Moines that I did last year. They wanted to do some BGP path manipulation over MPLS. They wanted to use some dark fiber links instead of MPLS for certain traffic, and so they sent me this, and then I just basically took my lab environment and said, okay, this is router 11, this is 12, this is whatever, and I started making my configs, and I could actually show them like, okay, here's how we do it. Copy and paste the configs, put them in zip file, send it to the customer. All they got to do is paste it in the box, and it's done. Probably some pro services from Marco, you could probably do that instead, but so it was a good learning experience for me just because I was in the CCIE lab, right? So just some stuff that I could do and show the customer. So again, this was a larger financial institution down in Des Moines that I did this for. And again, it's all about the sub interface. This is really hard to see, I'm sorry about that. But basically it's all about sub interfaces. So when you saw like those, it's like, how do I get these boxes to talk to each other? Because like in the virtual environment, like they can't see each other unless I start tagging them. So basically what I did was, you got sub interfaces. So this is like gig 1, 1, 2, 3. I basically tag a VLAN on it, 1, 2, 3. Same with here, 1, 2, 3 is up here, up there. Give it an IP, then they can ping each other. They can do OSPF, PHP, whatever they need to do for routing protocol between the two of them. So basically you're just creating a bunch of sub interfaces. Not physically, but physically within the virtual environment, but virtually isolated through the VLAN, down with tag. So then I can guarantee stuff's not talking to other stuff if they're not supposed to. So this is, if you've heard of INE, they're a training partner. This is kind of how I learned how to do this from them. And so this is just the generic concept, right? Here's my one ESXi host. I run VMware on it. I got one link, basically out to a switch. If I want to practice on some physical switches, I don't care if they're Meraki or Catalyst or whatever, right? So if I want to actually do some topology stuff on a physical switch and have it talk to my virtual environment, that's just a .1Q trunk between VMware and him. It's just one Ethernet cable. So I can do this with this, one box with the server. I can do it with a couple if I want to do switches, or if I want to this was like a spanning tree lab where you're like, okay, I got multiple links and I'm trying to decide who's root bridge and all that kind of fun stuff. Stuff that I'm glad I'm not doing anymore, honestly. So, but that's how, that's really how you can do it. So thinking ahead, if I know I only need CPU, memory, and disk, right? That's all I need. What do I do? So people that have like remote branches, okay? So like take you for example. Okay, you got bank branches. Put a router, put a switch. You probably got some branches that have some servers there, right? Active Directory, DNS, DHCP. So this is where Cisco's going. It's called HyperFlex Edge. 2-node cluster. So I got 2 nodes. I got Intersight as my cloud management, so easy for automation policy. So one pane of glass to manage it all. Take my concept of virtual routers, virtual switches, or physical switches, either way. I can run HyperFlex, 2-node cluster, so 2 servers each branch. I got high availability, I got failover, I got virtual routers, I can do SD-WAN, I can do call manager, Active Directory, I can do ICE, I can do firepower, I mean you name it, I can do F5, I don't care, right? I got 2 servers, 2 routers, 2 servers, 2, you name it. Fill in the blank. And this is my branch in the box, right here. Number of switches maybe I need for phones, APs, whatever's at the branch, right? Small, big, you name it. Because I know, like, you know, some customers say, I really would like, you know, maybe SD-WAN for failover, right? So I do MPLS and internet, or MPLS and MPLS or internet and internet. Well, still one box, still one router. I might put dual power in that guy, I might try to do as much as I can, but if that box dies, branch still down, right? So this is kind of like the next evolution. For the branches that makes sense, right? Because maybe I have a small branch, if it goes down, okay, it gives you what it is. But if there's one where I really want the business, the risk, the business is looking at the risk and says, I can't tolerate downtime. Well, here's my solution. 2 nodes, HyperFlex Edge. Intersight cloud management, and I run virtualized, and I have full redundancy. I can lose a whole host, everything's running on this, because this is VMware, run underneath on those HyperFlex nodes. So that's you know, just going forward, thinking ahead, like as far as what we're gonna do with that. So I do have, I don't know if you guys want to do this or not, but I was going to show you, just for example, so like, if I can bring this up, then you can kind of see, like, here's VMware, this is just a jump box that I have, like that sits on that server, right, there's all those routers, right, here's my multi-tab putty, there's my different routers that match up to that, R1, R2, I mean, it's pretty simple as far as once you get it built, and then the world's your oyster after that point. Whatever you want to lab, whatever you want to do. You're just literally creating sub interfaces. You want to get fancy, we can get really fancy, and we can run Eve. Eve is like an overlay for that. So then I can start doing something like this, and I can start building out like what my network looks like at my business or wherever I work. Right. This is one where it's like troubleshooting. So I'm in a forum community for CCIE guys, and basically people build labs and then say, here, it's broken, go fix it. So this is the one that's broken, and you know, you have to run through, you know, all these different scenarios. So, but anyways, that's my spiel in a nutshell. It's super easy to build a lab. The more I got into it, the more I really enjoyed it. And I really had a lot of fun. It took a while, obviously, but we do, just lastly, I guess, finishing up on labbing, we have some training courses coming up in Sioux Falls. One's a Cisco traditional wireless, one's going to be a route class. So this is that routing class is going to focus specifically on, you know, BGP, OSPF, EIGRP, and then we have a CCNA security one coming up. I know there's some changes, the CCNA and CCNP and all that stuff coming up in February. So there are some certification changes stuff coming up, but these are all going to run so far. So
what's the cost roughly?
Yeah, it's like roughly, I think like $3,000 or learning credits, 25.
Traditional Cisco training partner.
Yep, enter one, same one we've been doing for the last 2 years. So you can do learning credits, you can pay. Usually if you send more than one, then there's usually a discount. But this isn't me teaching, this is like an official learning partner that comes in. You know, we bring in lunch every day, but otherwise we're not there, we're gone. So we won't bug you too much. But, so
if you got somebody that's technical and wants to build a lab,
come find me. Yeah, come find me. I'd love to do it. I mean,
you have this free time because you're not studying for your CCIE.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was kids would go to bed at 8 o'clock, 8:15. I'd go from 8:30 to 11:30. I mean, every day, every night. So it's about 2,080 hours. When I tracked it every day. Excel spreadsheet.
Alright,
Stay
so
accountable.
these are the pairings for tea time breeze at 12:20.
Yep.
So if you're the first team there, probably grab your lunch and start getting out there. Thanks, Kyle, for presenting.
You bet.